There we go.
Good. Oh, I see it. We'll be live in about 10 seconds, everyone.
I can't hear you, Erik.
All right, you're good to go, Erik.
Thanks. Thank you, Sadie.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erik D'Souza, and welcome back to Writers in Our Midst. This is a pleasure to be doing Writers in Our Midst 23, my 11th, and the 11th that we've done with the Port Moody Library. So, as always, thank you very much, Port Moody Library, Sadie, for helping us out today, and everyone else involved. It's a great partnership that I appreciate very much. Today, we're repeating for the first time a subject matter. Last year, the Valentine's episode was such a success, we thought we'd do it again. We have more people than I expected because poets sometimes tend to crash the party. So, but they also tend not to talk too long. So I'm not going to talk too long. Let's try to squeeze everybody in because it's going to be a fun night of romance. Romance comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. I got a horror writer later on who's going to give you a different side of romance that maybe you're not accustomed to. And I'm sure they'll see some traditional romance stories today. I apologize to those of you here in the sense that my first reader unfortunately couldn't make it live. Lyn E is at home on Zoom. Those of you at home aren't going to notice the difference, but we're going to be able to hear Lyn, but you won't be able to see Lyn unless you want to whip out your phone, go onto the Facebook page of the Port Moody Library, and you'll be able to see her read. Lyn E has been writing since she was 8. Children's books, poetry, songs, prose, short stories, cookbooks, energy healing manuals, meditation, memoir, and romantic suspense. She eats words for breakfast. I know because I'm a publisher and I'm putting out like 2 books for her this month. Her newest novel, Murder in Rivers Bend, book 2 in the McClintock Miller Romantic Suspense series, was released on January 31st. Her latest book of poetry, Rhythm and Rhyming Spirit, will be available on February 14th. To learn more, go to lynair.com. Take it away, Lyn.
Thanks so much, Erik. It's a treat to be here. I really appreciate all the machinations that had to be gone through for me to do this with you. As Erik said, I've been writing poems since I was 8 years old, and it's been a beautiful journey of rhythm and rhyming, and romance is probably my favorite topic. I've certainly been involved in a few, and my last one, we shared 29 years together, and it was wonderful. Grief is a part of love and romance as far as I'm concerned. We always know when we love somebody that they're going to end up passing away, or we will, so that's just how it is. I'm going to read from various books of poetry I've written along the way. This one is from Of the Space and Time, 2002. Love's Journey. He and I have set a course on uncharted waters. He is my anchor and I am his sail. We watch the sunrise and go to sleep for the day, weaving the illusions we must to survive. Then we awaken at sunset in each other's arms. We come alive as we refresh ourselves with love. Slowly, carefully, we spin our dreams, our hopes. Into the night we go on our big boat, our homemade cocoon. We fly up to the stars and consider how it was before time began. We dance and twirl and cast rainbows about. We theorize, hypothesize, sympathize, and standing toe to toe, we talk and talk. Our ideas and breath intermingle and flow away from us. Attached to a silver cord, they seek out like minds. To be continued. And it was for another 20 years. Who you are. I could see who you were. An artist, musician, a shaman, a writer. I still see who you are, persistent, tenacious, and patient, a fighter. I can see who you'll be. insistent, audacious, an angel, much lighter. Soundtrack of our lives. Conversations, joking around, singing off key, murmuring to each other late into the night, and laughter, so much laughter, created the soundtrack of our lives together. When Norman died, my world went silent. So those two were from the book I did last year called Waking Up to the Life Left in Me. It's a bit of a job going from a big we to a little me, but we're doing it. Escaping gravity. I have run and raptured by the movement of my body, didn't feel my feet touching the ground. I have danced, dreams answered by the music, joy fulfilling, uplifting, transported, flying around, and made love, being captured by the web, cast by delight, enthralled, released from earthbound. Known great freedom in every chapter, escaping gravity, traveling with spirits, angels, my soul a pound. Looking forward, cells scattered into next part of my journey without a physical harness dragging me down. This is from my current book, Rhythm and Rhyming Spirit 2023, The Memories of Us. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, is that the memories which he and I created would sustain me for years to come. As the grief of his passing subsided over the years, the joy we shared seeped back in to fill all of those empty spaces. My steps grew lively, this old heart expanded. I grew in light and love and found my happy place in the midst of the memories of us. Solitary Land. The flesh and blood version, a story that runs free, unique, fresh and new, your poetry to me. Line by precious line, your rhyme makes sense. Your rhythm is sublime. I'm captured in your web. No struggle will release my breathless body from. I can complete my fate. You're like coming home. Verbs and adjectives and words I understand. I'm so happy that we met. No longer solitary land. Solitary land, it was a place to be, for a time to heal, but now I've been set free. And as Erik said, my book of poetry, Rhythm and Rhyming Spirit will be out sometime next week. And I thank Erik for all his publishing capabilities, because sometimes it's a bit frustrating. But I love the writing part, and that's my specialty. Thanks, Erik. And I can't wait to hear everybody else read about love and romance.
Thank you, Lyn. You can't see it here at the library, but your voice is on loudspeakers, and I believe the library got just a little bit quieter when you were reading. So you got an
Oh,
unintended audience that wanted to listen to you too.
thank you so
Well, my
much.
pleasure now to introduce myself. I'm a mystery writer, publisher, and for my day job, I do the social media and webinar coordinating for Crime Writers Canada, also the co-president of Tri-City Wordsmiths. As I said, I've been doing Writers in Our Midst for 3 years now. We survived COVID, and it's a pleasure to be doing both live and Zoom events at the same time. And Again, I'm going to thank Sadie for wiring this all together because it looks great. Also, since it's the romance issue, I'd like to thank my wife of 21 years, who I consider my biggest fan, my greatest supporter, the only reason I'm able to actually have a career in literature, but also she's my harshest critic. And I think a lot of spouses might be able to say that about their loved ones. One comment she often says about my work is that there's not enough romance. Now, like I said, I write mysteries, and that's not really an excuse for not having any romance in them. But my protagonists in Death in Half Moon Bay are Suzanne and Charles Rickson. They're in their 60s and they've been married for 41 years. There is romance, but it's not boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. It's rather boy meets girl, they get married, raise 2 daughters, retire in the Sunshine Coast, where boy and girl solve mysteries. I don't write long, drawn-out love scenes, but I do pepper my novel with light moments of affection that, as they sort of tenderly jab each other. One topic that the Ricksons disagree upon is the health impacts of Charles's beloved bacon. Originally, I had several bacon scenes, and my editor advised me to tone it down. So there's 3 remaining bacon scenes, and I'd like to read you one of them. I'll very quickly mention that Staff Sergeant Laval is the lead inspector in this mystery, and Regina Snow is Suzanne's prime suspect. Suzanne made breakfast very loudly in hopes of waking Charles. She succeeded. He groaned as he trudged down the stairs. He favored his right side. It was clear his left hip and knee were still sore. Charles appeared to be in a foul mood, but the smell of frying bacon quickly turned his spirits around. "What's the occasion?" he asked. "No occasion. It's a simple token to show my appreciation for you." "Bacon? Served twice in 1 week? No, there's something up." He stood behind her and eyed the 3 scrumptious strips that were just starting to coil in the frying pan. "I think I have Regina right where I want her, and Laval is on board." Breakfast was ready. She wiped away the bacon's excess fat and placed them beside a slice of toast and fresh-cut cantaloupe. "Sit, sit. Everything is already done." Charles sat down in his chair. A cup of hot green tea was already on the table waiting for him. A smile grew on his face. "How did you get Laval to agree with you?" he asked. "That's the beauty of it. I didn't. He got there on his own." After serving her husband, Suzanne prepared a bowl of hot oatmeal and sat down opposite him. All along, she recounted her telephone conversation with Laval. "Ah, so the mystery has been solved," Charles said when she was done. "Not completely, but almost." No, not your mystery, dear, my mystery. How did I get to have bacon twice in 1 week?" Answer: "You're in a good mood." Or perhaps I'm trying to knock you off by feeding you an excessive amounts of sodium nitrate and saturated fats. Did you ever consider that? No, it's not murder if the victim happily eats it. We can't live forever, so we may as well live happily. Charles devoured his breakfast. I want to say before I ended and go on to the next reader, that on a personal note, I'm a vegetarian and I often cook meat for my wife. I often buy her flowers on Valentine's Day, or sorry, I should say, I often buy her flowers the day after Valentine's Day. And I think the success in our romance is that she considers my frugality rather charming. And I forgive her for her harsh feedback when she gives me about my stories, and I can see that she is often right. Also, a very quick note, pointing out that your wife is sometimes right is another success to marriage. Thank you. Let me get back to the other readers. So Yvonne Harris lived in Northern Canada for most of her life. She went to school in Whitehorse, Yukon, and later worked as a regional planner in the north before moving to Baffin Island, where she researched the history and culture of the Inuit background for her latest novel. Yvonne currently lives in Port Moody, where she considers research and writing historical fiction. Yvonne is the author of several children's books, as well as Hiking Guide to Hawaii, the Whitewater Canoeing books. Books by Yvonne Harris are available at lonepinepublishing.com. Presenting today, well, Yvonne's going to come up, but also her work's going to be read by her daughter, Emily. Oh, and for everyone here, I believe there's a handout for her newest book coming out that if you're interested, she'll be happily give it to you later on.
It's tripping hazards everywhere here now. I'm so sorry. I'll be the one to trip. Oh.
Thank you, Eric. I'm Yvonne Harris, and I have a family here helping me out. My husband Paul and daughter Jacqueline and Emily. And Emily will read for me. I had a stroke about 6 years ago, which has happened my right side and my speech, unfortunately. So I can't read very well. Before 2016, when I had my stroke, I was a top female canoeist in the 545-kilometer Yukon Quest and North American ski champion. I'm probably a criminal because I'm being punished for bragging about my athletic pursuits all the time. They kids still how I talk about myself. Well, one is my sins, but I don't brag anymore. You know, I'm not very humble now. It's the nice thing about being disabled. You start to see the world differently. I see the world quite differently with a wheelchair that I did before I had my stroke. Anyway, the upside of my disability is more hours to research and write. I took 6 years to write the Chilcotin saga, and it's about my 13th book. I think this is my 12th books, Baby Egyptian. And written before I had my stroke. I wrote that book. Alice Ackerman is a Chilcotin saga. I wrote it after I had my stroke. And I have a fine daughter. She's going to help me read, and I'm going to turn it over to Emily now.
Thank you.
I'm reading 3 passages from Alice Ackerman Chilcotin Saga. It will come out this year. This historical fiction is set in 19th century North America, covering the Chilcotin War and post-Civil War in the US. It was written in support of Every Child Matters and Black Lives Matter. The first passage includes select paragraphs from chapter 1. They set the stage for the Chilcotin War. Miners and citizens walked to the hall through the rain-drenched streets of Victoria to hear about the road Alfred Waddington planned to build at Butte Inlet. They crowded into the hall, many smelling like wet dogs. There was a buzz in the room, not only because the people were eager to hear about the Butte Inlet Road, but because they were hoping for news of the Civil War in the United States. The Confederates had fired on Fort Sumter, and Lincoln had declared war on the rebels. Many of the miners were Americans, both Confederates and Union supporters. It was a noisy crowd. Waddington stood at the podium, waiting for the room to quiet down. He was not a handsome man, with his lidded eyes and a mop of hair that looked like a toupee. He was in his mid-60s and dressed in a rumpled, fine wool suit, at odds with his upbringing. Despite his disheveled appearance, he had an air of an aristocrat. It was rumored that his family held several cotton mills in France. David leaned his lanky frame against the wall and turned to Alice. He can't mean that he intends to build a road through the Chilcotin country. The tribe will send him packing. They don't want our pots and pans. They don't even want our muskets. Though if Waddington encroaches on their territory, that may change. They'll take up arms. Waddington's voice boomed out across the hall. I'm going to build you a great road, he said in a self-assured manner. Yes, a great road. It will get you and your supplies to the goldfields in half the time and half the money you are paying now. Just a short boat trip across Georgia Strait. Yes, a very short trip. Then across the mountain onto flat prairie to Fort Alexandria. David leaned over, whispering to Alice, I don't know how much longer I can listen to Waddington's bull. Do you mind if we go? Alice asked quietly. No, I think we've heard everything the two of us want to hear and more. They left the fetid room and walked out into the cool evening. The rain had stopped. They enjoyed the fresh air, the tall cedar trees glistening with raindrops, and the promise of spring after a winter of freezing rain. The air was refreshing and warmer than it had been. Alice removed her bonnet and smoothed the strands of dark hair that had loosened from her bun. When do you go back to the Fraser Goldfields? Alice asked. David looped her arm around his as they strolled along the banks of James Bay. I have another day. I have supplies to buy, and I must visit the governor. David paused before he added. Just a social visit, since my orders now come from Colonel Moody in New Westminster, another aristocrat from London, who knows little about the people who lived here for centuries. He'll serve his time in the colonies, lining his pockets. A wash of moonlight fell on Alice's fine features. You are beautiful, dear Alice. You know that I have loved you since our days on the Oregon Trail, and I believe that you'll heal from your terrible loss. Alice leaned her head against his shoulder as a gentle breeze wafted inland from the sea. The journey across the continent was so long ago. I should have left my sorrow behind by now. This passage is from early in the book. Humphrey, the young engineer, along with 6 canoeists, had been hired by Waddington to find a route through the Cascades to the gold fields on the Fraser River. The crew is leaving in November from Victoria to face the bitter winter and the steep ascent through the mountains. They are saying goodbye to their friends, and in Humphrey's case, to the woman he loves. Ah, there she is. Come to see him off. His heart lightened at the sight of Miss Charlotte Dupre, standing apart from the crowd, looking down on him from the rocky bank. She was dressed in a fitted bodice of blue satin, with bell-shaped pagoda sleeves and a floor-skimming skirt of purple velvet over wide crinolines. He thought she was the most beautiful woman in the British colonies. No, in the Americas. She walked slowly down to the dock. Robert, she said with a sweet smile, you are undertaking a perilous journey. I shall pray for you every day until your return. Humphrey was speechless. His deepest wish was that she would consent to be his wife. She would make him the happiest man in the world. So much depends on this journey, he thought. If he should fail, her father would lose substantial funds. He would be disgraced, and he might lose the one he cherished most in the world. She took his hand and held it, her gloved fingers so light and sensuous. Although he was a fit man, for a moment he felt faint, being so close to his love. We shall miss you, dear Robert. Did you bring me the miniature I requested? Oh, yes. She dug in her small beaded reticule and passed him a tiny photograph mounted in a pewter frame. Please discover a safe pass, Miss Dupre urged. My father and I are counting on you. He invested all our savings into Mr. Waddington's road. You don't want my father sent to debtor's prison, do you? She said this in a whimsical tone. Humphrey swallowed the words like they were heavy stones in his stomach. His mission was a burden, not an adventure. The crew, anxious to leave, were already seated in the canoe, paddles at the ready. Balthasar sat in the stern, wondering when his lovesick boss would let them be on their way. There was only so much daylight, and they had a long journey ahead. Humphrey bid a final farewell to Charlotte, taking her hand in his and kissing her fingertips. He stepped off the rocks at the landing, glancing at her one last time before climbing into the front of the canoe. Coat sat in the bow, with Humphrey and pushed the canoe off with his paddle, the frontiersman waving to the crowd and giving a whoop. The 3 Frenchmen and the 2 Songhees, Pete and his son, Kefsiva, or Little Pete, as the others called him, paddled with energy. Lefty, sweat pouring down his tired face, couldn't keep pace with the others. "Pick it up, Lefty," Balthasar yelled. "You're slowing us down, girlie. You paddle like a duck hit on the head. It's catch, stroke, release. Keep your time, you dolt. Being in time is everything in the canoe." The final passage is near the end of the book, a little romance after the violence and horror of the hangings of the Chilcotin chiefs and the lynchings of the Deep South. After the wedding ceremony, David and Alice danced in the mission hall. She had spent the week sewing a white satin dress. David wore a gray wool suit with a flowered velvet vest and white cravat purchased in Barkerville, where every fashion was available. "How long is this going to last?" whispered Alice. "Till the sun doesn't rise in the east and all the oceans dry up." He kissed her on the forehead. "I believe some poet said those lines before, David," she smiled at him. "I have an original line for you," David said. "Alice, place your hand on my beating heart. It beats for you. It will always beat for you." Thank you. Thank you.
Somebody was on a trip, might as well be me.
One for the team.
Did it for you guys. Thank you, Yvonne, and thank you, Emily, for reading for your mom. I look forward to when my kids could do that for me too. Well, let's introduce the poets. So I invited Karen Haim and asked if she'd like to bring some friends. And she's telling me I'm spelling her name wrong. Haim. And I'm gonna mispronounce a few other people's names too. But we have 3 of you. 3, oh, there's a 4th. The Troupe de Poetry comes in a pack. I've got Karen Haim, Pam Murray, Alan Manning Valley, really close, and Angelica Beisel. The stage is yours. Sure.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I got a couple of poems for you today. We're actually planning an event at the Lyn E Community Center on February 11th. So this is just a taste today of what we got going on. So the first one I have for you today is called Wishes of Kisses. Wishes of kisses fly through the air, letting you know that I really care. Streams of dreams fill my mind's eye as I reach for the moonlight up in the sky. Hugs and snugs make me melt into you, and the power of love seems really true. Herds of words let me speak of trust, and we look at life, you know we must. Tears of years are gone quite fast, and we look to love to make it last. So a smile for a while makes us feel nice. A little sunshine today is not a bad price. So that's my first one. This is my second one. It's called My Love for You. Strong as an ox, yet meek as a dove. My love for you doesn't fit in a box. Like a swimming fish moving upstream, my love for you is my continuing wish. If birds do sing with a tweet so sweet, my love for you makes my ears ring. Like the tall trees growing high in the sky, my love for you knocks at my knees. And when water flows in the river so deep, my love for you just grows and grows. Thank you. So next I'm going to introduce Pam Murray.
As she said, I'm Pam Murray, and I'm more of a storyteller than anything. And I do it in rhyme. And for me, Valentine's Day is not only about the romance between a man and a woman, but it's also a family thing. We have Valentines that children make at school. And I'm a widow, and I've been a widow for a number of years, but my husband was always very into Valentine's Day, and he always bought a box of chocolates. So that is going to be my first poem. It's called Chocolates in a Heart-Shaped Box. Every year at Valentine's, 3 heart-shaped boxes would appear. A husband's and a father's gift to wife and daughters he held dear. He'd search to find the fanciest, presenting them to us with pride. And more than just the chocolates were hidden as his gift inside. They held emotions from his heart. They wanted us to plainly see how precious we were in his life, how much he loved his family. I've been a widow many years, yet every year in memory, a heart-shaped box of chocolates is my gift that I buy for me. That was the first one. And as I said, he was very into Valentine's, so I used to write him a poem every year. And this was one of them. I wrote this in 2003. Come down to the river with me, my love, and tell me what you're dreaming of. The light of sun upon its crest reminds me what you love the best. We'll sit on a fallen log and see an echo of our destiny. That time will shape and redefine, yet you'll remain my Valentine. It's at your side I'll walk through life. I'll have your children, be your wife, and shape my own dreams with your smile. Let's linger here for just a while. As day progresses into night that slowly claims the dancing light, we'll let contentment be the sign. You'll be my only Valentine. And the next reader will be Ellen. And I'm not going to attempt his last name.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Alan Mandan Valley, to be correct.
Well done.
It's Finnish. It's a Finnish name. I've got 2 poems for you tonight, and it's relative to Valentine's. So I'd like to read the first one to you. It's called Sweet Rain. The rain came pounding down upon my humble home. The water smeared my window's view and made me feel alone. The downpour wet the grass and the garden gnomes. The droplets fell around the trees and on the pathway stones. Little veins of water ran together to form small pools. The damp mist on the plants looked like crystal jewels. I smelled the scent of cedar and the flowers in full bloom. Out on the lake, I could hear the lonely call of the loon. I grabbed my book, a cup of tea, and entered my cozy den. My mood was dark, my heart was heavy, and then I wrote a poem about young love, and a tear came to my eye. Soon the sun crept out of the clouds, and I saw the clear blue sky. And the second one, Summer Sweet Romance. Finally, the sun is out and the skies are not a dull, drab gray. We're making some plans, packing a lunch, and we'll soon be on our way. We hiked for miles, and in the clearing, we did rest as we shared shy smiles. I unpacked my basket, spread it out, and together we ate in style. I brought fried chicken, garden salad, and a bag of your favorite chips. I poured 2 glasses of white wine, which we sipped with our parched lips. The wind stirred up the leaves in the trees that were standing tall. Your calm voice cast a sultry spell to my pounding heart. It did call. The heat beat down on us as the scented flowers fluttered in the breeze. Summer sweet romance was in the air, so this opportunity I did seize. I held out my hand in confidence as I went down on my knee. I love you truly, so hold me tight against your breast, if you please. Thank you. I can't think of her name. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good evening. My name is Angelica Beisel-Elder, and I'll be reading you 2 poems. They're quite different. One rhymes, one doesn't. One is called The Rose. I should probably put this right side up. And the rose is one of my favorite flowers. And it's because to me it embodies a contradiction. The stem is thick and strong with thorns, but the petals of the rose are soft and fragile. And it's one of those flowers that doesn't always, it doesn't last as long as some others. So to me, it also is very much a representation of the contradictions inherent in love. Because I think if you can't cry, you can't laugh. And if you don't feel pain, in a way, love to me is a composite of many things, including pain, which is why I like the rose. I hope that doesn't sound too depressing to people. It's not meant to be. Okay, the red rose. Ethereal queen of blossoms, strong yet delicate and fragile. In a shade of passionate red, your intoxicating fragrance perfumes the atmosphere, surrounding my senses in a cloud of delight. Your soft velvet petals caress my willing cheek as I inhale with sighs of pleasure. My hand reaches for you. Your sharp thorns pierce my skin, drawing blood, a prick of pain. You are as ephemeral as the heartbeat of my being, and as constant as the love lodged forever in my memory. That's the first one. The second one is very different. One of the things I started to do two or three, no longer, 5 years ago, was I foster senior cats. And I find watching them interact very interesting. It's very amusing. We had a tuxedo cat that passed away last year. He developed a brain tumor unexpectedly, and we had to let him go. But our first foster was a cat with one eye, pardon me. She was 15, and when we brought her home, he was very curious, but she didn't care at all, cared not a whit for his attentions, and they never became friends, which I had hoped. But so this is Timmy. That was a tuxedo. Timmy's Valentine for Delphi. She was 15 when she came to us, and we had her for 5 years. He was 14. So here's the beginning. Timmy's Valentine for Delphi. Well, what's this? A new arrival here today? What do I hear? A hiss. Wonder if she's here to stay. Please don't close the door. What a delicate, sweet face. I really want to see some more, so I'll wait here, just in case. Oh, good, it's dinner, time to eat. And finally, here she comes, with lovely legs and pretty feet. Gosh, I'm all paws and thumbs. After dinner, I'll take my chances. What a gorgeous fluffy coat. I'll keep sending her shy glances and purring on a gentle note. Her human guards her closely, cradling her in loving arms, while I lie nearby morosely. just captivated by her charms. Things are different on this night. There's a special pillow on the bed. She's sleeping there. What a pleasing sight. I'll jump up, careful where I tread. Dare I approach for a sniffer lick? Can't believe my luck. What joy, though it was short and quick. Still, I'm such a happy, happy boy. Mealtime, she's kind of grumpy, swipes at me and steals my food. Those times make me very jumpy, but really, I'm a courageous dude. Wow, what a spunky, foxy lady. I love her sparkling green eye. How I wish she were my baby. She might be friendly by and by. Of course, Christy is a darling gal, but Delphi is so elegant and fine. Christy's still my buddy and my pal. However, Delphi's simply divine. Christy was our other resident cat who came along with Timmy. Thank you.
Jimmy had better luck with.
Well, he had luck with Christy.
Oh, okay.
Delphi, no.
Can't have them all. Karen, I'm glad you came. Next up is my good friend Carlos Lozano Gilabert, who lives in Port Moody, where he divides his time between BC's gorgeous nature and his passion for books and movies. The genre he dwells on most are horror, adventure, and a touch of romance. Today, he's here to read some of that romance, although in a different way than maybe we're accustomed to. Although we just heard a cat poem. So. He loves creating plays and screenplays like Deep North and short stories like the ones from Voices from the Dead and Creatures in the Dark compilation, which I believe you can find in the White Pines selection. And you can find more on his website, clozanogilabert.com.
Hi, everyone. This story is called Iris. And imagine that I'm saying it with a feminine voice, right? The narrator is a girl. I was walking home, following the route I took every day while Dog was alive. I miss him. I missed him a lot. Ever since the accident, I've had the feeling of meeting him in the street. You know, looking at someone and for a moment, just for a moment, thinking it was him. I wish I could see him just one more time. So I was walking past the little cafe by the park where the willows are when this guy bumps into me. Hi, oops, sorry, he said. The order of the words was all wrong, but something in the way he talked stirred my curiosity. It's all good, I said, and was ready to keep walking when he spoke. Wait, what an amazing piece of trash. His finger was pointing at my locket. I gaped, shocked at what he had said. I was going to say something, but he was smiling. He smiled with almost infinite tenderness. I remember Dog used to call my locket that amazing piece of trash. He had crafted it himself out of an old pocket watch. Thank you, I replied with a shy smile. How about a cup of chocolate, he said and winked. Sure, I said. But what was I really thinking was, how does he know I love chocolate? It wasn't the usual thing to ask. Guys always offered coffee first. When I'd say I didn't like coffee, they would ask, tea then? Not one asked for chocolate. It was windy outside as November was almost upon us. I took hold of the lapels of my jacket. He extended his hands in front of me like a gentleman of times past, pointing to the cafe's door. I was feeling at the time charmed at this new find, intrigued, and a little suspicious. Was it too good to be true? We got to the counter and he asked the barista for our drinks. What name should I write on your order? Said the man behind the counter. D, he answered. just D. We went to a table by the window. My new acquaintance pulled a chair out for me to sit. Dog hated doing that. He would say, "Are you missing an arm or something?" He would only do it when he wanted to be especially nice to me. Dog knew I loved it. We started talking about petty things like the weather and what I like for lunch. That lasted for about half an hour. Next, we talked about my job and how I hated it. I want to do something with my life. It's just that I haven't decided exactly what, I said. Then, out of the blue, he said, "You've always been a writer, Iris. Just do it, right?" I opened my mouth wide. My eyes must have bulged with surprise. "How do you know I've always been a writer? Who told you my name is Iris?" As I said, I started to get up from the chair. I hadn't given him my real name. How could he know? My hand was already touching the strap on my purse. He stared at me, took my cup of chocolate, and turned it around so that I could see what was written there. It read Iris. "I don't remember giving my name to that guy," I said loudly. I pretended to be extremely angry, but the truth is, I was terrified. I didn't know what was happening. Was I going crazy? Then I remembered what he had said about me being a writer. "How do you know I want to be a writer?" "Seriously," he said, and then pointed to my idiot's guide to writing a novel. I breathed out. "What are you afraid of?" he said. I feel like I've known you forever, and you seem to know me too well, and I don't really know you." "How do you know? I mean, how do you really know when you know someone?" He said. "The time you spend with the other person, the things you share, the things you live through together, I guess." "You feel it, don't you?" he said. "In the end, you just feel the intimacy, the trust, the sincerity, love." I paused for a moment, feeling a knot in my throat. I didn't know what to say. "Yes, you feel it," I said, and a tear came rolling down my cheek. "And now you're feeling it, right?" I nodded as I sniffed. A song came up on the cafe sound system. I'd heard it before, but I didn't know its name. "I would really like to tell you how I feel, but I can't." "That was the deal," he said. "What deal? What are you talking about?" He raised his finger to his mouth. "Shh, just listen. That's how I feel." Then the music seemed to grow louder, and I listened. "I'll go back from death just to see you, so you'd know that I love you still. Some loves are forever, and ours is like that, and I want you to kiss me right now." Then we both lifted from our seats and stood up, locking eyes. We took the step that separated us and embraced. We kissed, closing our eyes, and for a brief moment, our souls fused. I lost track of time. The kiss ended, and when I opened my eyes, his eyes were on mine. They were like a dam about to burst. Then he lip-sung the ending. "I don't want to leave you though, I don't want to leave you though, I don't want to leave, but I must." We embraced harder. Then he looked me straight in the eyes, a tear flowing down his cheek. "Be happy," he said. "Do it for me." His voice was breaking. I nodded and saw his lip trembling. I closed my eyes to kiss him goodbye. When I opened them, he had gone. And that's Iris.
Bravo, Carlos. I knew in advance you were going to read that one, but I wasn't sure you were going to sing it. Very courageous. Gerry Bradley was born and raised in Prince Edward Island. He went off to Dublin in 1976, looking for the ghost of James Joyce, and found it a year later at the bottom of an empty pint of Guinness at McDavid's pub, Harris Street. Took a year, right? Joyce's ghost instructed him to go back home and get a job. He then spent 34 years working in community mental health in Vancouver's downtown east side and Actually, when you wrote this bio, it was recently, but it's not so recent anymore. But he's he's retired for a few years now. He lives in Port Moody with his wife Sasha and their dog Roxy. When not cutting the grass or washing the car or trying to write, he plays the fiddle in an Irish band called Port Moody. Close? Thanks, Gerry.
Thanks, Eric, and thanks to the Port Moody Library and all the other poets that have taken the time to show up tonight. So I was thinking about love poems, and really all poetry is an act. You know, what you do with words, how you try to convey thoughts and feelings. And St. Valentine's Day is approaching, so I thought I'd read a few poems that kind of speak to love. The first idea I had was in the Middle Ages, there was a concept called fin amour, which eventually became in England courtly love, and it was a taken up by the troubadours in southern France, and they would sing these songs mostly of a knight doing these incredible feats of fealty and loyalty to some lady that he might or might not ever have met. It's a very strange concept, fin amour, courtly love. And I reimagined it as in my own life when I was a small boy delivering papers, and I had these imaginary thoughts about all my customers who I oftentimes never met. So anyhow, the local paper in Charlottetown was called The Guardian, and I would get up every morning at 6 o'clock and trudge out and deliver papers. And so this is my love poem. It's called Delivering Guardians. Got to put on my poetry glasses here. There we go. Delivering Guardians. I think of you now and always as I move in my world of dew. I am about before the sky has thought of what it will do for the day. How reluctantly the darkness is always given up to the light, a blustery dawn to a sunrise. As I take to the streets to deliver my bundle, I see the papers are thin today, light and eager, and they lie in my sack like pleats, all in accordion order. They smell of something scooped of earth, couch tobacco of the midnight pressmen in their shirt sleeves, or something too innocent to begrudge a smell. A wet dog ambling in this early morning puddle world. I toss my papers in a controlled arc, and they touch each sleeping house with a light thud that will not awaken them, just nudge them, as soft as a cupped hand on a lover's sleeping thigh. I am a morning's walk beyond the events of the paper, for here with my sack, I set out before the news, for things do not really happen until I allow that inky sameness to be unfurled upon the breakfast table. Can I delay it? Save you a second or two? Yes. Sleep on in that curled warmth of yours as I move in my world of dew. Delivering Guardians. This is the best job I ever had, actually, delivering papers. When I was a little bit older, I thought Leonard Cohen was just the coolest guy. In fact, he's still pretty cool. He's gone, of course, and but he, you know, I can remember in 1967 listening to Hit Parade, and Suzanne was on the radio, and then in the early 70s his albums, and going to university and people sitting on the floor playing guitar, trying to be Leonard Cohen. Anyhow, here's my letter. Here's Here's my poem to Leonard. The Tomb of Saint Leonard. We trekked hard to the tomb of Saint Leonard, looking for that wise old script. We thanked the angels you brought the umbrella to roll back the stone to the crypt. Inside, all I fathomed was refuse, and babe, I was losing all hope until you put your hand in the way of small things and found a scrawl in an old pack of smokes. It said, Adam turned and looked at the garden to see what he had lost. He looked at the core of the apple and he watched it begin to rot. He looked down and he saw his nakedness and he wanted to cower and run until he saw all the time in Eve's deep, dark eyes, for then he knew why he did what he'd done. And turning a little sadly to him to explain his fib, said, Lord, I'd rather cause suffering than ever to lose this rib. And the Lord came down from his mountain, and he dropped his scowl and his frown, and from thence on gave to lovers cocked hat, gold brim crown. We hiked back again over the mountains, and in the flat places even held hands. I caught you when you tripped in that old snake hole, and I saw her again, the girl with the shorts and the tan. We reached the edge of the city of searchers, just as the day was losing all light. You used the last of the grocery money for the fare, as we caught the last bus downtown for the night. Tomb of St. Leonard. And here's one more. As has been said by a few people, there are many types of love: romantic love, ephemeral, courtly love, I guess. And then the love you always have when you miss somebody, and maybe miss somebody who's gone. This one's called You by Your Window. You by your window, in this place you will never leave. This fading fall day sends in light with a halo intent, and it makes a shadow box of your unmade bed. Rumpled covers and pillows, now mounds and valleys of warm snow. You are so excited today, you have seen a fox. Just over there at the edge of the woods, it came out and lay down. The haggard wind, no match for it, as it curled down into its snugness, its thick fur parting for the wind, only as a warm breeze on a barley field felt by a small girl barefoot on the side of the Emmyville Road, burdocks in her hair. I bring up something about the house, about the family, and you think that maybe had kids, but they would be mostly grown by now. It yawned and you could see its white, perfect teeth, so clean, so sharp, you think it could chew through rope if it had to. I know you like short visits, and I mentioned my parking will expire. As I look beyond you through your window, I see now that you are away with the fox, effortlessly loping through the brambles, flying over twisted banks. The smooth, coarse pads on your neat paws flushed with traction now, sending the snow high and backwards beyond you, beyond the ears. And barely panting as you reach that place in the deepest part of the woods to meet with other foxes. And they, although not given to packs, are waiting for you. Those that have gone before, knowing you will come in your own time. You by your window. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Erik.
Thank you, Gerry. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to call you out really quickly. You thank the poets for coming today, but prose writers, thank you for coming out too. And actually, a really quick note, because Gisela mentioned it in her bio, the Port Moody Creative Writers Group. I met Gerry there, I met Carlos, met Gisela early on, Lyn, when she read, I met Lyn there. Writing is often considered a solitary adventure. It's great to have live events and meet everybody again, see everybody like this. But the Port Moody Creative Writers Group, if you're considering at home saying, hey, I want to give it a shot one day, I would highly recommend that you look up the Port Moody Creative Writers Group. I learned a lot from there. I think that my friends would say the same. So the last reader for tonight, Gisela Woldenga, is an author living in Coquitlam. She's the author of numerous short stories, children's stories, poems, and 8 recent fiction novels. She started publishing children's stories and short stories in 1996. At the same time, she joined the writers group at Port Moody, BC. You can visit Gisela at giselaauthoractress.com. And I should, while she's walking here, tell you she's one of my favorite writers and readers. I even brought her once to my kids' school. And you never know how teenagers are going to react, but they loved her. And I think you will too.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you all to be there. Now, this is a book, the 3rd book of one character, Daniel, the symphony conductor. Now, to write about a symphony conductor is a far piece of work because most people don't know really what a symphony conductor does. He's just not sitting there doing this. However, in the 3rd book, and I'm reading a little part out of it, his wife has died 2 years ago. He has now the responsibility for 2 teenage kids, one 16 and one 10, on top of all his work that he's doing, all his traveling that he's doing, all the studying that he's doing, and he's very, very popular. Also, he sometimes has to fight the criminals that are after him for some reason or another that he got himself into because he always says, I am such a law-abiding citizen. And that sometimes gets him a little bit into trouble. However, he kind of took a shine to a librarian from Portland. He isn't quite sure of himself that he's ready for dating or getting serious about somebody else because he's still mourning his wife. But this one is right up his alley, like they say. So this little part that I'm reading, he isn't quite sure of what he wants to do, but he doesn't want to lose her either. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a taste of this here. He's in Seattle right now, conducting, and she has come down to listen to the concert. And this is the next day. Since he hadn't been seeing Lydia at breakfast, he asked at the desk to ring her room. But the clerk told him that she had gone out. Darn. I'll try and find her. She might have walked towards the park. Daniel followed the route he would have taken and caught up with her standing by a fruit stand. You're an early bird, Lydia, Daniel called. She turned with a purchase in her bag. The surprise showed in her face. Good morning, Master. Daniel. I thought you would still be sleeping. Daniel laughed. Not when you have children. Are you game for a walk? Yes, I wasn't sure which way to take. You lead. As always, only this time without my stick. I'm glad she agreed. It felt easy to walk beside Lydia. No tension, just conversation and comments about the park and its colors. Daniel finally asked, how did you decide to become a librarian for an orchestra? Lydia looked up. That's a long story, but ended well for me. Just wondering, Daniel tried. I thought you might have a husband and children. Should I even ask? I might have, but like I said, it's a long story, good for a long winter's night. Lydia smiled, but Daniel noticed the sadness in her eyes. Keep it light. Sorry, it sounds ominous. So we'll wait for a winter's night by the fire. Lydia bent down and picked a stray piece of grass. You'll be all over the globe, and I'm in Portland. Yes, who knows where I am? After London, something might change or not. But as you have seen, I'm a guest conductor quite often. Lydia looked up and smiled. You might have to swear to come back to Portland sometime. Daniel turned towards the bench. Sometime is such a vague word. Life is unpredictable, like all the criminal problems he had to go through. He smirked. Another story to be told before a fire. Lydia sat down. I've heard some things of the trouble you had, but nothing specific. Are you okay now? Daniel nodded. We're going to be. The bad guys all make a mistake sooner or later. Lydia looked at her watch. You must need some lunch. I won't keep you any longer. Daniel was surprised. You don't keep me, Lydia. We'll go back together. Is she afraid of what? Hopefully not of me. Better make sure of it. I told you before I like talking to you. I don't get many chances to just have a conversation with someone nice like you. That doesn't include what music to choose or a timetable. Lydia looked as if she had more questions, but she got up. Her smile came back. Don't let your kids wait, Daniel. I'm so glad you caught me this morning. Same here. So you'll endure another concert tonight. Thanks for your support. Probably for a long time to come. At the hotel, Mia and Julian met them. Good timing, Mia called. I'm starving. Let's have lunch. Daniel looked at Lydia, but she shook her head. You go ahead. I'm going upstairs. See you at the theater. With her usual wave, she disappeared inside. Now there's a switch, Daniel thought. Sonia would have been all over me, not Lydia. He felt a bit of relief. He had to be realistic. His career, his family, his own still uncertain feelings. He needed to wait. But he would keep in touch with Lydia. I don't want to lose her out of my life. Thank you. Push anything over.
As I was sitting on the side, I can stare at the White Pines collection that Port Moody Library so graciously supports its local authors, and I'm pretty sure I see Gisela's book there. So walk, don't run. It looks like there's only one copy. Well, thank you, everyone. I was a little worried we wouldn't be able to squeeze so many writers into 19 minutes, but we have 15 minutes to spare. It's been a great night. It's great seeing old friends and new friends today. I know there's a lot of literary events coming up. As Karen was saying, February 11th. Can we see it? Can we find it on the website? Oh, she has flyers. All right, I can hand out flyers to you, those of you that are here. And to those who are not, should I just read out your email address? Karen H61@hotmail.com. You can find more information about that. I think I also run the Tri-City Wordsmiths, and I think we shared it on there, so you can also see it on our Facebook page there too. So that's a nice, keeping the romance theme alive, nice Valentine's Day theme. And I believe it was all helpful by a Port Coquitlam Foundation grant, which I also recently got. Let's not talk about Port Coquitlam right now. Oh, City of Port Moody got you this one. All right, and then kudos, City of Port Moody. I think that's it for me. I don't think we want to do questions or anything, right? We'll call it a day. Any questions for anyone? I feel the same way. So thank you, everyone. Great to see you again, Sadie. Gabrielle, if you can hear me, thank you for getting us through 2022. We wouldn't have done it without you. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming today. Here, I'll let you hand out.